Hey there, X-Gray, Zach over at Feel Free to Argue. I have a couple of beers in me, but I'll take a stab at answering your question. Kind of related to the whole beers thing, I'd have to say a big fat no, actually, on the whole politician thing. At various points, I've been intrigued. I know I'm more knowledgeable, certainly, than some people who are actually running the country. But all that aside, the biggest problem right now, and probably the biggest factor keeping not just me, I'm sure I'm not any huge loss to American politics, but certainly probably people who are even much, much better suited for political life than myself out of politics, is, the whole kind of witch hunt aspect, especially of American politics right now. I don't know how much of that you get in Canada in terms of seeing how completely savage and stupid and dog-eat-dog and illogical and etc. our political process is down here. But, if you don't know that, it is. And when you decide to run for political office in this country, you have to expect that every single aspect of your life will be examined. And, honestly, even if I just honestly didn't care about my own personal baggage and I was willing to have it all exposed, I would say there's probably enough of it. Not that I'm any kind of axe murderer or anything, but, honestly, I've been in trouble before. That's all it takes, And if and that's the amazing thing about our system, because they will go to whatever lengths necessary to establish that you are unethical, and they'll dredge up whatever dirt they can. They'll be talking to everybody you've ever known. I mean, it depends how far up. I mean, for dog catchers, certainly, they're not going to investigate your entire past. But I mean, as you start getting up to high state office, certainly national office, you've got to expect that every single aspect of your entire existence is going to be examined. Every person, every connector in your life where they feel like they might be able to dredge up some kind of unsavory information about you, they're going to do that. And honestly, how many people, looking back at their lives, can honestly say, unless I've got some sort of protection or some serious people vouching for me, how am I going to stand up to that kind of scrutiny? I mean, I don't think most people, I think honestly, could not withstand the kind of witch hunt that, you have to be able to withstand in order to have any kind of reasonably high political office in this country. Now, on the other hand, if you're a protected individual, say, George Bush, for example, then you can basically engage in any kind of wrongdoing you want, and eventually it'll all get papered over, especially if you have a heartfelt conversion to the Lord, and, you you have this conversion story that Christians are so in love with, of the bad man who changed and became good because he found Jesus. So, and this is something that, believe it or not, carries an incredible amount of weight in our culture. I mean, people love this story. It's part of the reason why Christian conservatives were so, behind Bush 100%. Both elections, it still wasn't a question for them. It wasn't just that, he was supporting their agenda, but I mean, he's serious about them in a way that most people aren't. I mean, most of the Republican candidates were just giving lip service to the religious right. Bush spoke their language and cared about giving them some real power. Aside from that, there's the whole element of, compromise, etc., that's involved in actually, getting stuff done in this country. It's just a slow, painful sausage machine right now. And there's a lot of gridlock. There's an incredible amount of partisanship. So honestly, at this point, I favor the role of being an outside commentator on things. And I mean, I would love to have like some more power in that capacity. But as an outside, commentator, your life can be very different. You don't necessarily have to, ascribe to some like incredibly high, stupid moral standard, which has nothing to do with, how you actually, do your job. I mean, no one, asks, the CEO of a major corporation, about these ethical issues in their personal life and thinks that it has any kind of relevance. Everybody's looking at the bottom line. But somehow we want our elected officials to be these sterling, moral examples, which I think is just a bunch of hogwash. And honestly, all it does is chase decent people away who otherwise would probably be more than happy to be in government. It would probably be very good. It would probably increase the overall level of quality of our elected officials, because as you drive like anybody who doesn't want to have like all of their past investigated like this out of the process, you're decreasing the pool. And so of course you get the pool small enough, you're just not gonna have enough people to select from, and you're gonna have to start picking crooks and stupid people, which is, I think, kind of the situation we're in now, and it's hard for me to say a lot of this stuff, because, I mean, for me, it's actually easy, because I'm fortunate enough to live in a district where, my personal representative is Tammy Baldwin, who's like an excellent, very progressive member of the House, and then my senator is Russ Feingold, which is honestly, he's one of the best senators in the Senate. So I don't have much to complain about, of course, except for my president, the general direction of my whole country, because Tammy Baldwin and Russ Feingold are the exceptions rather than the rule. But I admire them a great deal, especially for trying to be progressive in these very, very conservative times, and not being afraid of their principles, which unfortunately I feel like Barack Obama is. So there's my long-winded answer, because I'm Zach and I can't say anything like briefly. I just have to keep going on and on until everybody's incredibly bored with me.